Delighted to say that we have on the line Professor Kevin Curran, who is a professor of cybersecurity at Ulster University, who sits on the advisory group of Vaultree, which is a UK Cybersecurity Council, and the Northern Ireland Civil Service Cyber Leadership Board, and is perhaps most well known for his work on cybersecurity, blockchain, and networking, evidenced by over 1,000 publications, and he's the most interviewed technology expert in the UK with over 1,500 interviews in recent years. We are certainly honoured, Professor, to have you on the show this morning. I hope you're not getting tired of doing these interviews.
Not at all, thank you.
No, not. What are the key challenges that we face in respect of cybersecurity? Just taking a step back, first of all.
Well, there are a lot, actually, because everything has gone online. Most of us do our banking online, we do our shopping online. So, again, there's so many scams. People try to scam us through our phones, people try to scam us through emails, and people obviously try to scam us through, attacks that get onto our phone and whatever else. But again, individuals face so many problems again, but when it comes to maybe companies, again, the biggest threat at the moment is ransomware. Again, so ransomware is where you got a data encrypting program that demands payment to release the infected data. And the overall sum of actually ransom demands will have reached 1.4 billion in 2020. Again, so so that is a major problem because people, again, don't have backups generally. The ransomware comes in, and because of cryptocurrencies now, like Bitcoin, finally the criminals can make money and remain relatively safe from prosecution because if they do it properly, they can obscure their Bitcoin and try to hide it, and obviously release it into fiat currency, into their currency of whatever country they're living in as well. And the other thing as well is, go on, sorry.
No, please finish. Please. I'm sorry.
The other thing as well is Internet of Things devices, what we call things like webcams and baby cam monitors and Ring doorbells and anything which is like a little device you buy and put into your home. Unfortunately, a lot of these devices are very cheap and they don't have the proper encryption. And what happens is hackers take control of these devices that we have, simply like webcams, and they become part of a botnet, as we call it, where that can be used to bring down companies and websites to their knees because they make use of these devices and they start pinging from them, sending information from them. And, of course, the people that they're attacking will start replying to these doorbells and everything else, of course. And the owners do not know that their devices have been commandeered, that their devices have been compromised. And then that leads to greater ransomware attacks and what we call denial of service attacks. So people should be careful when they buy devices. In other words, people generally get devices, cheap ones. They install them. They use the default password, default usernames, and that makes it so easy for the hackers to be able to compromise these devices. So if you buy any device, the first thing you do is change the password, change the username, and then install your device, and hopefully it will not be compromised.
Professor, just going slightly off tangent here, but it's a question I really want to ask you. Is when a communication platform developer or a decision maker, they make the decision to create a function or a feature of a self-destructing message, what could possibly be the intention or the benefit or the sellable point? Why are they doing that? And what does that... Yeah, I mean, it's not a loaded question in a sense, but I genuinely... The intentions can't be good, can they?
Well, what you're talking about is ephemeral messaging, we call it. It's where messages disappear after they've been viewed. Whether that's 1 minute or just a minute you do it. But Snapchat would be the most famous. Snapchat is loved by young people, and Snapchat has ephemeral messages. So that means I can send a message to my friend on Snapchat, and once they read it, the message is disappeared. Now, young people like that. Young people are very savvy, actually, when it comes to privacy. Young people, strangely, years ago I was on radio quite a lot, and I was asked about the future about young people. And surprisingly, people have adapted very well to the internet. Most of them, actually, you wouldn't believe how many of them will post a picture on Instagram and then delete it because they don't get enough likes. Now, that's not about privacy. That's about likes. You wouldn't believe how many times young people delete their pictures from Instagram or whatever because they just don't get enough likes again. But young people like the feature where messages are sent and they cannot be kept and held against them. And they know about the feature because they have been warned since they were younger that if they post something online, it can affect their career. The parents don't realize how savvy they are. But Snapchat comes along, or also WhatsApp does it now, right? So messages can disappear, but young people really like that. And of course, a lot of other people like that. There are so many people who are privacy conscious. Again, some people don't, of course, some people never send a message that they worry about, but young people do. And it's not even bad pictures. Young people worry about what they will look like in a year because they change so much. I asked my son, why did he delete his photos off Instagram? And he says, Dad, because we change so quickly, and I don't want old photographs on there because I look so young 2 years ago when I was 13, now I'm 15, and that's a big difference for a kid. And of course, the young people like the fact they can send messages to each other and that the other people cannot hold it against them because young people will fall out with each other. That right now, they might be in one particular gang and they know they're friends with 10 people, but next year, they might only be friends with 2 of those people. So this kind of actually protects young people from having a fallout later when someone tries to use an old picture they send against them.
Brilliant. My question is also about the communication platform and about privacy. That how can communication platforms ensure they are getting the balance right when it comes to maintaining privacy?
Well, okay, so platforms like WhatsApp or Snapchat or any of them can obviously create these ephemeral messages which disappear, but that means the public want a feature like that. Again, the worry, of course, in the UK right now is that politicians are using ephemeral messages and that these messages are being deleted automatically, and we don't have any account of what politicians are saying. So when a politician gets elected, they are for the public, and the taxpayer pays for them, and they have a reasonable. They have to act fairly. So we can't have any, private messages or anything going on that we can't hold them accountable for. And that's the worry at the moment, that politicians are using these messages which disappear after being read. And also some of them are actually deleting. But the worry is that they could be up to things that we don't like in other words, lobbying for companies, getting money in the background, saying things, covering up. And of course, in a democracy, you do not want any cover-ups. You want to be able to hold everyone accountable. So that's a worry. But I think the government will come down with legislation forcing politicians to not use ephemeral messaging. In other words, to use messages that remain in their timeline or whatever else that they're using, because it's important for transparency when it comes to politics.
Just widening this outside of the UK, it's been reported in other countries that have used cyber attacks against private and government entities. Now, I guess the security issue here is this an argument that the government are going to use in defence of the cabinet advising on the use of self-destructing messages, or even not to use these applications in the first place for sensitive government business because we're at risk of these cyber attacks from other countries?
Well, we are, but actually, okay, right now the safest messaging app you can use if you want to remain private, no matter what country you're in, whether you think the government is spying on you or you're worried about other people, is Signal. Signal is true end-to-end encryption, and it's free. Now, WhatsApp is not bad, but it's not true end-to-end encryption. Governments can demand to see messages from WhatsApp. But again, so Signal is the way to use it. But it's not that these messaging apps are not safe and quite good. In other words, attacks will come from other venues. Governments are attacking both, and offensively, and of course they have defensive teams. But the major governments around the world, the US, China, Russia, they all have amazing cyber teams again, but in their military units now again. Of course, these cyber teams are being formed into the military. The military have had to come into the 21st century because, again, the next world war will probably be fought without any bullets. It will be fought in space, and it will be fought online through the internet, because countries will be able to bring electricity grids to a standstill. They will be able to bring trains to a standstill. They will be able to hack airport systems. They will be able to hack all the infrastructure which keeps us going on a daily basis. And so much destruction will happen online. And governments are preparing for that because they know that is the easiest and most cost-effective way. In the past, if there was a war, you had to ship your ships overseas, you had to ship your tanks, you had to have your helicopters, your airplanes coming in. Of course, it took weeks and it took billions and trillions. Now online, you can do so much destruction, and that's why governments, the big governments again, are putting so much money into having cyber attack teams.
Professor Kevin Curran, it's been wonderful having you on the show this morning. It's been really insightful for us as well as our listeners. I'd love to have you on again sometimes. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for being on the Voice of Islam.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
May peace be with you. Thank you.
Ali, I don't know